Oh, baby. It's episode 61, Hero Labs Live. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your co-host, RT, Random Task, and we've got Nick over here hanging out in the lab today. How you doing, Nick?
Doing well, man. Going over some gold stuff, checking out the market sideways.
Sell the bounce or buy the dip? Yeah, that's the real question here. We got Linus in the chat. We've got Jim. Good to see you, Jim. And nice to be here live. I know you've been saying you had trouble catching us live, watching a lot of replays. Great to have you in the chat. And your question is, will it be lower high, higher low? I would also like to know that. With that lens, I will definitely be pulling up the chart today to show you what I'm seeing. I had an interesting pip stop hit me today on OMG, so I'm a little salty. I'm staring at that on my Binance account right now. I got to figure that out. What do I want to do? Because I'm bullish on it, but I didn't want to carry it through any more downside, and I put a stop loss, perhaps 7 pips too high. It happens, but I don't like it when it does. So we'll see what I'm going to do about OMG today after a big partnership with the GVT, or not partnership, acquisition. They've been purchased. So that's probably bullish, as it shows on the chart.
It's definitely bullish for the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally just good news. I think when you get bought by somebody who has a lot of money and they've got big plans for you, it's like at the very least they're not going to die this cycle.
At the same time, sometimes you get bought to get killed.
Yeah, so we maybe have to look into the nature of that acquisition. Did they buy them up to just put them to sleep? I don't get that vibe, but it is sort of like a scaling solution for Ethereum. So maybe it's limited relevance here with the rollout of 2.0. But you know what? We don't know how 2.0 is going to end up being. It's still very much, it's rolling out. They've got a plan for it. I imagine it'll end up working fine, but could be a year or two away.
I think a million ETH has been deposited there in the 2.0 contracts.
Nice. Yeah, no, and the beacon chain's live, but it is going to be a slow process. And then as with all development, there will probably be delays, and the end product may not scale even to the level they need it. Like it still may just then clog again, just like BitMEX. I remember BitMEX. I watched an interview with Hayes and I think it was Luke Martin, and I thought it was interesting. He said when they launched the ETH perp contract, that's when they started having all the overload issues again because it just was very popular. People said, why don't you have a third, like an XRP contract or something, another perp? And they said, look, we just don't have the bandwidth for it. That's why we get the overloads. So it's like you scale up your systems and then you add a new product and then you fill that. So maybe ETH, even with its scaling, will have room for others. We'll see. Today, we're getting a drop in Bitcoin price, which, to be honest, was fairly telegraphed. It was a slow grinding rising wedge with no real buy volume up around the highs. So unless, I think some people were looking at it saying cup and handle, ? But, my thing is like, look, we're heading into the end of the year. Big players, companies, whatever, they're not looking to necessarily add and take on large new positions like sexy, big, flashy plays at the December, whatever. Typically, I would like to think that there's going to be maybe a little chill out in the market until January when we start to see where we land. And that's kind of what we talked about on Wednesday. If you didn't see it yet, check out my market update video from Wednesday night, because I felt compelled to put something together because I had all these ideas in my mind and I was like, Twitter thread? ? No, it was too much info. So I put it in a video. It's on our channel. So if you haven't watched that, please check it out. Let me know what you think. You share your thoughts. It's just a thesis. And then for now, it's playing out. But next step, first step was to BTC had to chill out. Not nuke 17K, but definitely not break 20K. So we got the chill out. It's just ranging right now. A little wedge drop and hanging out. Part 2, well, we need altcoins to start catching bids versus Bitcoin, which some of them are. I think they will. So alt season, December, 3-week rally, ? I think so. I think it's in the cards here.
Mini alt season.
Yeah, mini alt season. The question is, with Bitcoin up at the highs, if it ranges down, say 18K, say 16K, like 16.5, back into the sort of reload zone off this little rally, and then your Bitcoin pairs do pretty well, are you going to have more or less US dollars? Because if those pairs that you're trading for a small gain versus Bitcoin end up flat or down versus USD, it's a lot of wasted fees, time, and effort. So
and purchasing power, US dollar is probably going to sell off just a little bit more if the Q goes there.
Yeah, not to mention the Dixie. So those are all the questions I have, and I'm going to do my best to, work with Nick, and he's got a lot of interesting data from various sites that he's a member of and places. So really kind of trying to eke out some edge in that so that I'm not just blindly buying up tons of alts and hoping. I want to know that there's an edge in it. So we're going to dive into that today and see if we can get some of that. One of the things I want to talk about, what are your astrologer friends say? Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, Linus. So I'm not a big astrologer guy, like with the planetary stuff, but there's some guys over at TRI, Jupiter Saturn cross, I believe it is this month, and they're expecting some shenanigans. So we'll see. I can't really speak to that. It is
a guy I recommend if you're looking for that type of analysis is DJ Thistle. He's been an OG, DJ Thistle on Twitter.
DJ Thistle on Twitter. Okay.
Yeah, he runs CoinStreet News. He's been in space for a long time, and not only does he have decent analysis, I also like his takes and views on the world and political matters and stuff. Quality channel.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm going to follow him right now. So thank you for that shout out, DJ Thistle.
Yeah.
Yes, Thistle. All right, we're giving him a follow. For those of you who want to see that, I guess I could put that in the chat. Thanks for that shout. Put it over here on TradingView as well. There we go. DJ Thistle 01 on Twitter. Okay, let's dive into the charts, Nick. I know Nick has a really interesting chart that I've been following, and I actually have to message him. I'm like, hey, show me your chart, because it's like, what is it? The quant thing? What's it called?
Yeah, it's from Crypto Quant. I had a call with them. They're just a bunch of data scientists. Their main mission is to make sense of data and make it reliable and accessible for people. But we follow a few things here. So just right off the bat, Ethereum 2.0 continues to receive deposits. It's very close to 1 million. It may have ticked over. I'm not sure what the delay time on this is, but you can see the clear correlation in price. People are just having more and more confidence in this, right? And at the end of the day, it might not be the best bet for like a short-term individual trader because the yields aren't going to be as high as the gains you could potentially make in the market or trading other DeFi products. Like you will make more money trading the DeFi bubble versus just letting it stake there, right, for under 10% APY. But for investors, it's a long-term yield solution that they see as safe. So that's exactly what the killer app of DeFi is, and so we'll let that be. But continuing to see that rising interest is definitely bullish for the ecosystem. But let's go to the exchange flows. We've been talking about this for a little while.
I want to see. Maybe even zooming in on that exchange flow, like what's it doing today? What's it doing last night? We've been doing it like a zoomed out view. I would love to see it on like the 5 minute, maybe the 1 hour.
I don't think we can get those. Oh yeah, let's do that. Oh, I missed all that good stuff.
Oh no, you weren't okay. See, yeah, I was like, yeah, I love the studio, but let's get onto the old whiteboard.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the numbers are pretty easy to understand with ETH 2.0 deposits. But this one's a little nicer to look at. And like Crypto Quant is just a fantastic platform. Like I've been spending some time with it, and just the way the data is visualized, and who doesn't like a beautiful dark theme, right? But you can see the clear correlations here with extreme miner inflows and drops in price. It's almost like a leading signal and indicator, right? Like the coins have to move before they can be sold. So it's a pretty logic sound on that front. And every major spike has resulted in at least a $1,500 to $2,000 drop, if not more. So what we've been saying these last few days, this was getting up there to around 2-year highs. This is what we saw back in March. Obviously, Corona panic. Similarly, back here, and this is like end of 18 when we fell through finally the 8K or 6K break. Yeah, it was the 6K break. That was a big one. And then the only abnormality here is when we were really in a trend. So, we did get the dip, and it just looks like a blip on the chart. That's what happens when you zoom out. It's very clear Bitcoin's in a fucking uptrend, right?
Slightly.
Yeah.
Subtle uptrend.
Yeah, but you can see like even in the rally, it still caused a dip from around 7,500 down to 5,300, which quite substantial. But sure enough, at the time we would have been calm-headed because we did recognize that as a Wyckoff throwback level to be buying, and the trend went on its way, right? So is that what we're seeing right here as well? Is it started to come off a little bit these last 24 hours, and prices kind of just hanging out. We did get a pretty, what was that, $2,000 drop, over $2,000, $2,500 drop off this spike. But I think the other, like we've been saying for a while, like there's such a strong underlying bid on this stuff right now, right? It's going to get absorbed, right? That's why we see these quick bounces back, and you can just see the amount, just grayscale. This basically like proxying for all their institutional inflow, right? They're just going through this one entity. But yeah, mine 27,000, bought 55,000. So a clear, Bitcoin supply and demand, that's really all you need to understand here. Limited amount of supply, right? While demand is outpacing that issuance, right? So it's just natural that in the market, you're going to see dumps get bought up hard. And these guys aren't looking to sell right now. Like the premiums, I think, are still
I think it's fair to say they're not rushing to sell this high.
Yeah. So this could go on for a long time. Like that's essentially the brilliance of the Bitcoin monetary policy, is that if you get enough people to believe in it with a limited amount of supply of it, right, it's just naturally going to go up. Like it's a beautiful system. It just needs to reach critical mass.
Yeah, and I think some of the problem that some people have with that narrative is that they've been hearing it for 2 years during a bear market. It was always the same thing, right? Institutional underlying bid, supply demand, limited supply, and so perhaps now that disbelief phase is taking its hold on people who are just saying, well, yeah, like if there's a dump, like if we do end up rolling down here for a bit, retracing, cleaning up the chart a little,
it can.
People have been hearing it. Yeah, I remember January 2018.
But people need to understand that the data is pretty clear at this point. So if you're ignoring it, then you're just really shooting yourself in the foot. As long as we see these continued inflows from the institutional level, which I suspect will continue to see that, like liquidity creates liquidity, right? If one guy's interested in it and he has a big network, everybody else in that network is then going to be interested, and it just snowballs. Like that's the beauty of this design. So like trying to bet against this when something has a critical mass and a network effect of this velocity, it's fucking suicide. Like it's literally mathematical suicide. So it's like anybody betting like in 2008, yeah, makes sense, because if you look at the numbers, the demand wasn't there. The issuance of supply far exceeded demand. Of course, the selling pressure is going to win out. Like it's a no-brainer. The underlying bid wasn't really there. It was only the very early guys. Like people need to understand, like institutions, why are they going to grayscale? Because there's still a lot of like regulatory hurdles to go through. Do they want to deal with self-custody? No, right? A lot of the time they don't. And look at what's coming out with the self-custody rules now. Same thing with the Stable Act, right? There's so many restrictions coming into place where it gets funneled, where it's just easier to pay these premiums because you still want exposure to the asset in some way, right? So it's just easier to go through someone like Grayscale, and they take advantage of those inefficiencies and lack of knowledge, etc. And they, that's where the premium comes from. And as the demand grows, the premium fucking widens. It's just, that's it. That's literally why Bitcoin's going up.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I mean, I'm with you. I have a cash position now, altcoins and cash. I put my Bitcoin into altcoins, based a lot on what I talked about on that market update video. But that whole story, like I want to buy Bitcoin in the mid 16s, like in that kind of reload zone off that low we just made, or at 20K. Like I'm okay to buy it. Like I would hate to get swept up there, and it's like, yeah, stop by at $20,000, and then that pings and then we dump. But like generally speaking, I will buy it back up there. I'm cool with that. If we break up there convincingly, I'm comfortable in my long. But if we don't, at this exact level, I'm actually leaning short term, range down, and that level you've got drawn on your chart there, that big purple one below, that's actually, I think there's a high probability. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
there's a
it's
high
like
probability that that's where we are going to head to before we get a convincing break above 20K.
I would
It's sort
say
of physics.
yeah, it's like an 8.2% move down. And technically, like long, like high mid time frames, the market structure is bullish, yes. But short term, right now on this hourly chart for the last like 36 hours, it's bearish. Series of consecutive lower highs, lower lows. We broke the horizontal, tapped it, turned to resistance. So we need to see now what happens here, right? If price comes up a little bit more and fails around like 19.2 or something, or very weak volume comes in, shows signaling some weakness, I would expect these levels to get swept, and to kind of retest that 18.2 level. If we do move above, like if we move above 19.2, turn that into support and start to drift up, I would get bullish off of that and think this was just fucking a bear sweep.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I'm expecting consolidation somewhere in and around this area. I think over the next few weeks, like that end of year tax selling, all that stuff, that could just be the narrative to take us into that YCOP check. It's
Sure.
less about, hey, let's predict what's going to happen. It's more about like, how can we find a place to put money in, put it to work in one direction or the other. The short really did come in last night, beautifully, I might add, up at 19.5. And it's all the stuff that I talk about here all the time, the short reload zone, and then it kind of wicked up, and then it came down, and then it actually bounced back up into an even tinier short reload zone for some more size. The wedge broke down. I don't have an exact trade right here on the hourly, other than maybe what you just said with a bearish retest, but I think there's some extra risk there given that we've come off a bit here. But I'll tell you what, my spot Bitcoin is getting bought up at your purple level there, because I feel safe there in the sense that if it does go back down below that, I can just stop out again. So
Yeah.
that's where I see the next kind of good risk reward for the long side.
Well, luckily for our viewership,
Or like I said,
while you were talking, I drew out the trade for them.
perfect. Let's take a look at that.
Oh, it's over now, so they'll
Or
have
that's
to
what you
go
just
back and review
It's already
it.
done. Okay, sorry. Like looking over. We got some good activity here in the chat. We got Tamay is interested in learning more about the planetary stuff. So I said I'm going to reach out to some. I know some people at TRI. There's definitely a handful that are into that. So I'm going to find the most suitable one that's also interested in joining us. Maybe on one of these Mondays, I can get them on to tell us a bit about how the hell all that planetary astrology stuff works. For those of you who don't believe in it, cool. You don't need to. You don't, find your way to make money in the market and do it. But for those who do believe in it, it's pretty fascinating shit. I find it interesting. I just watch it more as a hobby. But I would like to unpack that more. So we'll see if I can find a guest to come on and be an expert on that, because I am not the one.
There was another old OG trader who that was his craft, and that was Flibber. If anybody was ever around in the TeamSpeak days, he was one of those guys. Full moons, there's going to be some shenanigans happening, astral alignments and stuff. Good trader, vibrant personality. I'm not sure what he's up to these days.
Yeah, there's always a little shade of kookiness that comes with that, right? You got to be a little bit outside the box, I think, to look up at the stars and see the planets moving and think about how that affects human behavior. But I'll tell you this. I believe that there is a hell of a lot more going on than what we just think of at face value. And it's a little bit out of topic here, but I had a professor in university who was really into like paranormal psychology and all this really cool shit that would blow your mind. And after kind of being through some of his classes, I'm just like, okay, yeah, maybe planets do make us behave differently. Like I would not rule that out at all. And anyways, neither here nor there.
I think life's a giant simulation, so I'll just play with the rules.
There you go. There's also that. In fact, according to Elon Musk, the odds of us being in base reality are like billions to one. So probably not.
I believe it. Yeah. But let's take a look at some charts, I guess.
Let's get back on track here. Let's look at some charts. Because if it is going to be an alt rally, today is the kind of day where you want to be looking at dips, not rethinking the buys that perhaps you got, ran into over the last few days. I mean, this is a day to be hunting those levels.
Yeah, I got a sushi chart pulled up here because, we believe the next big phase in DeFi is going to be the consolidation through mergers, acquisitions, etc. And SushiSwap is benefiting from that right now with their year-end integration partnership announcements over the last 48 hours now, about that. Anyways, we always talk about price coming back down to the spring levels, right? Well, look what happened here. A perfect example of that. The Wyckoff throwback, the spring of the move. Sure enough, buyers find some will and finally come. It's tough to chase it at this point, really. But the next signal you could be looking for, yeah, it's already up 10%. So margin traders, don't bother. What we need to see now is this coming back and closing above this 2.2 level. If we see that, that's going to give you renewed hope of the momentum being firmly in the bull's court again, and it's going to look something like this. Get the higher. If you get the double retest with the higher low, that's the great signal to take. Sweep these highs. There's a weekly level up here around like 2.5. That would be my initial target. Obviously, there's a bigger block up here at 3.2, and I believe that was the next range expansion trade as well. I quickly zoom out here. Yeah, so like that's a lot of thin air here. But yeah, as long as this level holds, market structure is pretty bullish. And even if we saw some wicks into this former resistance level down here, that'd be okay too, depending obviously where you got in. But yeah, things don't look too bad right now. But if that low goes, definitely expecting this level to get probed down there at 1.7.
Nice. Yeah, I was luckily in bed, not supposed to be on my phone that night. I was like, go to bed. And then I rolled over like a degen at like 1 a.m. to check my phone. And there was a friendly fellow trader of mine who dropped the tweet about that announcement. And I just aped into sushi and then went back to sleep. And I woke up to a healthy little gain. I think I sold it at like a 10-cent gain. But hey, no, that's a sushi story. I'm curious to see about this. Okay, so we're seeing a pattern in the market. YFI is consolidating the DeFi space, moving everyone into the vaults, whatever it is. Technically, I don't know really the nature of it, but I'll tell you this. It has been an excellent buy signal when they partner with things and not chasing, buying the pump, but chasing the pump. So I want you to switch over here, John, because I think coin of the day, we'll bring it up early because it's at a critical level here. We've got Hxro, Acropolis. It was already kind of a hot, sexy pick through the summer. As you can see, it had a incredible run. Actually, I was just talking about this on the daily brief over at TRI, and Brian's like, can we put this here? Like, this was a very sick empire top, what we call candle fractal body. So on the break of this candle low, it was like, Brian's like, could we just remind people to get the fuck out? And as you can see, that didn't age too well for those who thought, I'll just hold through the moon. It's about an 85% drawdown. But look, it's not every day that you get a partnership sort of announcement, like a bullish reason to go buy something and a sexy chart to go with it. So I'm pulling up Acropolis today. It's probably my favorite chart that I've seen as far as getting in the low part of the range after a breakout. So, don't sleep on this kind of idea here, guys, because what we've got here is bullish divergence. You can see the RSI was like trending up here even as the price was making new lows, which was internally quite bullish for momentum. Then you've got the MACD, which was actually flipped positive, which is really strange. I've seen that once in a while where like this pump here basically pulls up the moving averages and it just kicks this MACD into a positive bullish view, even as price keeps going to make new lows. So lots of bullish divergence here. And then you get in a little closer, the one knock on it is that you had sort of a low and then a lower low and then a breakout. Typically you want to see a low and then a higher low and then a breakout. That's the one knock on it. But I have actually passed on a lot of these setups because of the big run. So it doesn't mean it's invalid. It's just a little less. And then YFI comes out, announces a partnership, so you get a breakout on volume. So, I've drawn up the pump chaser fib. I bought yesterday somewhere in here. Couldn't tell you my exact entry. I just kind of like aped in for a small bag. Perfect world. Bitcoin rolls over, things get volatile. I'd like to buy this breakout level. It's actually a little further down, 4,700. I'm going to size appropriately ahead of that so that if it does come here, I'm comfortable buying more instead of feeling like I need to sell. But in the meantime, sick tap on the pump chaser fib. This is a little pump. I think what we're seeing, it made a lower high here, so it's not like cat's fully out of the bag yet, but keep an eye on Hxro because just like with sushi, it was a day or two or three that it started rallying and really taking off. And Sushi was already up quite a bit too from that first leg that had a few weeks ago. Hxro is really just starting. So I'm excited about this one. I think it could, the other thing, like, look, POC is up here, point of control. That's where all this volume is traded. Price is pretty gravitational towards that. Could be months away. Could be like April 22nd where somebody gets an alert. They're like, hey, look at that. We hit that fucking price. So you got to ask yourself, how patient are you? But if you're parking money somewhere, don't sleep on this one. I think this is one that I'm going to be looking at closely. This isn't financial advice. It never is. But for those of you who are looking for ideas, take a look at this one. It's my favorite one, I think, of the day. Whatever happens in the low time frame here, where they're chop here, bottoms typically don't look like this, in the sense that you probably will get more, time. But this is like this, right? This was quite a bit of time. And then based on how long it consolidates, you get a larger move. So for this move up, I wouldn't expect a monster. But I could totally see, that's a bearish retest there.
I like that more.
Yeah, like a little smaller, right? But that's okay. Ultimately, some bearish retest. I think these levels will get tested someday. But this is versus Bitcoin. So you also have to ask yourself, what's Bitcoin doing? But either way, Hxro, probably my favorite one today for the weekend.
Yeah, looks good. While you were doing that, I was doing a YFI chart on the daily. Our level has been pretty spot on this thing, right? This 31,000, 32,000 level is big. This is the big support level to hold down here, 25. Broke 25 to 25.7. And this is, if this market structure goes here, I'd definitely be expecting continuation to these lower levels. But I was noticing this buy up is on kind of a lot of like hidden bear divs and stuff, lower volume, pretty much through this entire consolidation phase, even on a new high, which is shitty. Divs on the momentum as well. So kind of keeping a close eye. It's not something I necessarily want to be longing. Unless we're closing, above this 32,000 level at this point, just seeing this type of divergences in the market. Other than that, I'd be more interested buying like down at the daily spring, really. If it were to make its way down there, 12%. Wyckoff throwback level as well. But this just kind of gives me some caution. I'd rather buy the breakout, confirm breakout above 32K, going into price discovery, first stop 34K. Or buying down on these daily levels, but right here just doesn't really look attractive from a RR perspective.
Yeah, no, I see it. It's just kind of in a no man's land for your time frame.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at DIA. I know who was it a second ago? Sigmar is asking about DIA and Bitcoin. This was our coin of the day. I don't know. Coin of the day is so cheesy. It's like the John McAfee thing. I just thought, look, I'm going to coin that term because sometimes with all the stuff we talk about, it's like, well, holy shit, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? This is just, the one that I thought was probably the sexiest because it looked a lot like the Elrond chart. And, we all saw on that day what happened to Elrond, right? You get the big consolidation, the breakout, the retest, getting excited at this retest. It was 1, 2, 3, 4 days really that this kind of hung out in this range and then just exploded. And I told you all about how I didn't trade that despite kind of having it on my short list. Like, wah, poor me, who cares? It happens. It's going to happen a lot too as a trader. So, and then I was looking at DIA and I thought, okay, kind of a similar thing. This is the USDT pair where you have that sort of long consolidation, breakout, retest. Didn't even hang around down here very long. It was just a wick in and go, which to me is even perhaps more of a signal. A lot of strength in that. And so, you can see here, we're actually, we got like its own little structure working on up here. So there's a little uptrend happening here. And so I'm excited about DIA. I think as a DeFi oracle that hasn't really pumped yet, at least not on the Binance charts. I don't know what it did, maybe pre-Binance on Uniswap, but we should actually take a look at that. But yeah, so the Bitcoin pair, same kind of thing. It's going to be a lot more reliant on Bitcoin's price action. But then fair enough, the USD pair will too. Those will pull back if Bitcoin pulls back big time too. But look, bullish structure. Again, lower lows, so not as strong of a bottom as sometimes you'll see. But the MACD was bullish the whole way through these lows, and the RSI started trending up all the way back in November, even as it made 2 lows after that. So there's a lot of internal strength here as well. I'm still very bullish on it. I still say it's actually like my biggest bag. I mean, if I discount share, because share is just like this tiny micro cap that's super volatile. Basically it's like, yeah, DIA is my biggest bag right now. So yeah, still like this one a lot. Let's take a very quick look at maybe on Uniswap, if it is possible. No. I wonder if there's more history. Now that I mentioned it, I'm very curious. DIA. Let's take a look on the daily. No, it's actually looking really good over in this one too. I mean, look at that chart. Oof. You've got pump, okay, excitement, listing hype, pre-sailers, getting out, shaking out, bottom formation, breakout, volume, consolidating, starting to move higher. I mean, this, you never have a guarantee. And it's so easy to want to buy after you see it. You're like, oh, I wish I was in the trade that's already happened. But you can't do that. You have to take some risk. You have to say what might come next. If I saw the chart looking like this after this break here, I'd say get the fuck out. That is not bullish. That just broke structure. We're going to go down for a bit. Well, now I'm saying the opposite. I think, yeah, this one looks really good. The risk, I think, is that it just continues to consolidate in this range. Maybe it does come down and it's just more of this and it doesn't, and then that's possible, but these lows look quite safe. That's a pretty big drop. So wouldn't risk to that. If I was on this chart, I'd probably try to risk to these lows and I want it to move.
Yeah, it needs to keep starting to have that curve, like the telltale curve. So it needs to keep that advance.
Yeah, this kind of thing. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's getting to a point now where I don't think I want to stick around too long. If it is, maybe I'm just wrong and it's going to have to chop for a bit. Like, yeah, I'd like it to stay above this level at least. But I have a real hard time selling things in these reload zones because that's where I buy. So if anything, I'm probably adding or holding. And then obviously might have to really eat the big one. If it goes below that, I'm just wrong and it happens, but I doubt it. In this case,
I think ETC just hard forked 5 minutes ago.
Ooh, what does that mean for price?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Well, that's a daily. Let's get the 5 minute. Yeah. I never bought into ETC. Like I think it's stupid. It's like, hey, Ethereum's going to move on, but like, let's buy the thing that it used to be that I don't know. I've never understood the value prop for ETC. Maybe you could enlighten me.
Now there is, in my opinion, a little value prop. Basically, I think it was born just off the DAO hack and people wanting to stick to the original vision of Ethereum. But they do have some backers. DFG's big backer, but from a chart perspective, I would say if this like 6-1 level goes, could see a pretty juicy drop. I think they keep getting 51% attacked as well.
Excuse me, drinking water. Yeah, there was a 51% hack earlier this year, was there not?
Yeah, well, a few of them. I think they've had like 3 in the past couple months, 3 or 4.
Damn.
But the chart just doesn't look sexy, like not at all.
No, and the story is not sexy. Like I don't know, like the future of Ethereum. Oh wait, no, the past. Okay. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never been into it. It's kind of like Litecoin for me. I just don't get excited about Litecoin as a project. Like it just, yeah.
I agree. There's trade opportunities, but like value props.
Trade your setups. I mean, look, there was a sick. Actually, probably like my favorite short. I didn't take it. I did a little bit more of a visual paper trade on this one. I was like telling everyone, I was like, look, ETC or LTC looks good for a short, but like, look at this. I mean, there was a short on it for sure. While certain other coins, I was like, oh, if you want to be bearish on crypto, like this was the highest in its range. And there was, all the markings for a short. It actually just confirmed a bearish market structure on the 4 hour today. But yeah, like this big dump, then draw from the low, bounce right up like 6 short, and like clockwork, man, this stuff. So, even as a proxy to Bitcoin, this is just what I see happening as the next trade, as far as like, if there's a squeeze up here, that's a short for sure after this confirmed bearish top. So then it's like probably going to trade all the way back into here over the next month, and that's going to be pretty sweet. So I am looking for shorts on Litecoin for what it's worth. There was one here already, but the larger one just confirmed today. So actually, and very often, maybe even next week, we just see it squeeze up, and then it's like, don't get bullish. That's your short signal. So
Apparently Solana's been having a network outage for the past like hour or so. There's like a
see that
critical
chart?
Bug. Yeah.
Oh God, critical bug.
Critical bug that apparently disrupted block production, prevents new transactions from being sent. But I guess they're pretty close to like restarting the network now or something. Let's see. There's a live update here. 80% reach. The network has restarted, and blocks are once again being produced. That was 5 minutes ago.
Okay, well that's not too bad then.
No, it looks like
they're still early stage, right?
Yeah, like in total, I guess it was a 6 hour dilemma.
Not bad.
Yeah, Bitcoin had a couple outages in the early years as well, but not for too long.
Could you imagine if that happened now?
It would be devastating.
Yeah, like one glitch and the whole thing would crumble. It would be Armageddon. But I don't expect that.
No.
So not FUD, just saying it'd be like funny to think about. Like, oh my God, it'd be the end of the world. Look at AXS. We had a question here. Linus wants to take a look at it. This is one that I'm bullish on. You guys know I'm watching this. There was a tiny short. The thing about this is like on futures, I'm always very tempted to play maybe overtrade. Like on the higher time frame, I'm just bullish in this and I'm just holding some and I just want it to go up. But then I go onto like my futures account. I have a spot position from this, wherever I bought it the other day, somewhere in the, I honestly don't know. I might have even bought it up here. I didn't look at it on this chart. It was in the mid 40 cents areas. But I'm looking up to closer to $1 as my target for that. But then last night this comes in. Bitcoin's in a rising wedge. Things are looking kind of gross. And so this was another one of those caught staring shorts that I kind of talked about and looked at and sized up and then just kind of watched. And today it played out. It probably, you're taking profit in this reload zone. I want to get long on my futures. I want to start taking maybe some leverage size on this one if I can get some structure to work with on this end of the range. But that's all noise because ultimately, if I can go back, I want to show more like the zoomed out view. This looks really good. If you're bullish on the USD pairs, even the Bitcoin pair looks kind of good and that might carry it. But yeah, I mean, this kind of zone after this kind of break and this kind of rise and the volume coming in, like I like it. And if it does break to a new high, this is going to be an area probably of next resistance. So keeping a close eye on AXS for what I expect could be a really juicy alt thing. And this is the key, right? Look at this bounce on Bitcoin right now, right? It didn't just nuke. It's not like, oh my God, 5K candle, we're going to the lows. It still might someday. But this is what you want to see with this altcoin stuff. So this red candle is your dip in altcoins. Then they rally. Then they dip. Then they rally. And if we can get those rallies to be bigger than the dips, that's your alt rally. That's how it works. And I think it's very sensitive right now. People are very sensitive. Algo's probably fueling that fire. Every time there's a little dump in Bitcoin, the alts like sell off in unison. That's not humans. Okay, it's algorithms. And then humans go look at the chart. They see their coin dumping. They say, why? And then they look at Bitcoin that's dumping and they go, oh, we're dumping. And then they dump. It's a very sick psychological game. And probably those same algorithms are just like buying these dips right back. And they're just capturing some like retail exits in the middle. It's my theory. And I'm
You gotta scoop up liquidity wherever you can.
Yeah. So
I quickly did up a chart because I think this thing looks really good actually on AXS. Like look at that inverted head and shoulders, like literally fucking textbook off that 399 level. So as long as that continues to hold, like 39 cents, bullish. If that fails, then call this the end. But technically, it did conclude the pattern, right? You can see here the right shoulder, right? Form supported. Where's the natural end of it? Inverted head and shoulders play. It's always to the range highs. And sure enough, where to go? Range highs. So right now, what we need to see is this thing supporting either back down here, which you don't want to see. You could maybe see
you
like
want
a
a higher low, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if we could, ideally this level holds here like 45 cents. If that were to go, I'd kind of get concerned that the pattern was failing. But usually this is a bullish continuation pattern or a bullish reversal pattern. But the trade technically did play out. So now we're just waiting to see if that 45 cents level holds. If it does, I think it would, next time it goes up to range highs, I think it would break through it.
Yeah, no, and that's actually why I've got this little mini reload zone drawn up, because after buying some spot, I thought, okay, yeah, I want to ride this to the highs, but like I want a leveraged position. Ideally, I'd like to keep as much of my margin liquid as possible. So, if I can grab like whatever thousands of these things at 10x leverage here, risk to here, I'm still not risking any more money if I just bought those straight up, other than the funding issue. But yeah, so this is the dip I'm looking for. I didn't quite get the one I wanted. In fact, it's pretty painful because on that chart it looks like I did, but on the actual futures, a bloody thing front ran, may I say. This is quite disappointing indeed. So you can see it did not get to my reload zone. Look at my alerts. You can see it here. Filled, like didn't get my fill. So it's too bad because I was charting it on the other one this morning and I was like, oh, cool. And then I go look and I was like, oh, not on the perps. So maybe the perps are like maybe a little extra bullish in the perps. We'll see. Or it's just an issue with one of these wicks changing the fib. I don't know, but I'm not full and I'm mediocrely sad. Although here's the thing. I do expect that there's actually some bullish divergence even on this low. So maybe there's some more internal strength here. But what I'm looking at for Bitcoin is one more low. If we're going to stay in this really tight range, because that's when you get your bullish divergence. So I'll show you what I mean here. And it's kind of cool, like how I've started to see these take shape. So let's take a look at the MACD here. You have a low, then you have a lower low as price made a lower low. So there's no divergence. They are in agreement, both making lower lows. But see how it's starting to flip bullish, guys? And then price is squeezing up. If price comes down again, the MACD will be behind. It's a moving average thing. It's going to be lagging. And so while price perhaps comes and makes this lower low, MACD's probably going to be behind. It will probably make a higher low. So that's how you get those divergences. You want to see the one low come in, bounces up, and then of course when it goes to make new lows, people get a lot of panic, right? You're like, oh my god, we're going, and that's actually into this reload zone, and that's where my next fib pong long will be, and that's what I'm still waiting for, perhaps over here. So I'm I canceled the bids for now because I just wanted to do the streams today and not really worry about my leverage account, but I would like to get these back in place, because if we do squeeze for one more low, trend line, sweet spot, bullish divergence, like I've got enough there to take some risk against the level, and probably have to risk all the way down to this low here, like my stop loss alert says. Nick, we got a question here from DJ2000. He says, can you show how you draw your horizontal levels and possibly give some examples of when you choose to count the wicks or versus when you just choose to count the candle closes?
Yeah, I think I do a lot of that. I basically just draw it off of the former resistances, the launch pads for daily or weekly candles, call them the springs. It's just a mixture of Wyckoff theory. And
so, I mean, this one's drawn up. Maybe for your next one, take us through a naked chart and just say, maybe walk us through it as best you could. Like, so here's why I'm going to put this purple level here, is like a little bit of that kind of thing.
Yeah, we can do that. But this is Plutus. This is a payment card system. I actually worked for them back in 2016. They were like one of the first projects to do an ICO. They raised like $1 million, and it's good to see that they've stuck around. They got listed on Bitfinex pretty recently. This is a classic chart as well. Wyckoff theory, full effect here. Again, the spring of the weekly move, right? Sure enough, that was the bottom, or at least very good enough for a bounce from that level. And what we need to see for continuation is, it's been here for a while now, quite a while, almost like since August. So the longer we're in a range, the greater the compression, the greater the move once it breaks it, right? So we've already mapped out where this thing, what the trades would be here. It's 40% and 70%, two targets on the range highs off the weekly. We would need to see a close above basically that 9.9 level. Your first target would be around, this weekly cluster. I'm sure it's a daily block as well, around 13.7. And then the weekly highs, which have already been respected once, right? So there's going to be resting liquidity there, 16.7. Your invalidation is going to be a break below these levels. If it closes below, it's ultra bearish. That's down there at 3.6. And I guess they keep, they're gaining traction. They're getting their products out there. They got a pretty good marketing team behind them. They're getting listed. They're one of the first DEXs. So they have a lot going for them for sure. What would it look like? So if we come up here, blah, blah, finally get over, reach, if this turns to support, but here basically like $10, that would be your signal to get into these trades, back down, and then something like that. That'd be a nice, there'd probably be a nice little curve to it as well, right? So that would look pretty good. If it breaks down, right, we'll probably get a bounce off there, turns to resistance, and down she would go. This seems like the most unlikely one, in my less probable to play out, just because of their, the fundamentals are good, their communities are growing, they're growing at the end of the day, right? So you would think demand would be increasing. And yeah, it's basically how I see that one.
Nice. Sigmar is on fire today. Just brought up another really interesting point. The BTC hash ribbons indicator just fired. So for anyone who's not aware, let's talk a little. I mean, Nick, you probably on a more technical level could speak to that, but let me just show you guys historically. It's sort of like a rare signal to do with miners and all this stuff. There was a time earlier this year that it fired, and I looked into it and I kind of understood it, but not enough to talk to today. But look, historically, it precedes pretty big rallies. Let's take a look here, right? So things were really bearish and gross. Oh, look, the hash ribbon fired. That marked pretty close to the bottom. Same thing here, fired again. So look, this was like 3 months that didn't do much, but it was the bottom. Then a big dump here. Hash ribbon fired. Looks like continuation. Let's take a look. Oh my God. Once again, right at the bottom. Wish I knew about this back in the day. Jesus. It was very bearish December 2018 when I was trading that. And this hash ribbon fired. Perfect bottom again. This hash ribbon fired, and anyone who went ball to the walls long there got wrecked. So that's probably the first anomaly I've seen there where it didn't really do much for you. But it fired earlier this year. Yeah.
The first one was back in 2015 when Bitcoin spiked down to like 300 or just below it, and then it was the bottom.
Oh, gross. Yeah. No, it's so it's not a perfect indicator, but it's a strong one. And you can see here we've got it fired again in April. That was pretty bullish, even though it didn't go too far yet. Obviously, since then it's done well. Fired in July, and it looks like not getting the buy on the weekly. I bet the daily though. I did see it on the daily. Yeah, it looks like it just fired again on the daily. So that's actually a really interesting sign. Kind of lends sending huge amounts of BTC to exchanges. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean they want to sell at current price. Yeah, I mean, we did talk a little bit about the capital inflows to exchanges to Maya earlier, which historically has been bearish. I always like to moonboy and to say maybe they're sending it there to buy all coins, but that's possible too, I guess. But historically, we didn't find any precedent with Bitcoin dominance dropping after inflows. So I'll tell you this though, this is interesting. Thank you for bringing that up, Sigmar. I think that gives me more confidence in the idea that, again, it doesn't mean anything today. This is not like a 1 hour signal, right? There's been like, what, 10 in the last 6 years? But it's a pretty good signal that we're not going to likely head into those 13, 14K regions. That, to me, that adds to my thesis that that's not going to happen. So this range becomes that much more bullish. Like that to me is like, I'm going to get much more. I was already going to basically go all in with my spot here as far as like, because it's close to this invalidation, but now maybe with a little more confidence, because that hash ribbon is not to be ignored, and it just crossed bullish on the daily here. So very cool.
Trend is your friend.
Trend is your friend. Why is it, like, in a nutshell, can you capture for us what the hell the hash ribbon is? Why is it so bullish? I feel like you know this.
No, I've never followed it.
Okay, because it's oh, damn it. The one thing I found that you have not got, but no, it's basically something to do. I feel silly now. We're on stream. Don't even know what the hash ribbons are, but it's basically to do with like miners and strength of the miner network and blah 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 blah.
I mean, we've already talked that there's significant capital inflow into the mining space. Like, we definitely expect the hash rate to increase significantly over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, guys, I'll tell you this. This is a time when I will say, just go Google it, because that's what I did back when it fired in the spring. And after a good 10-minute read, I think I even talked about it on stream after that and explained it. But since then, I have forgotten, and I won't insult myself by trying to make it up. So go Google that, and let's take a look at THETA. Tamaya wants to look at THETA. Look at THETA. So it never really did have the big dump, and that's actually really important to note, because that speaks to a actual like demand driven market. So while all the other altcoins were rolling over and retracing like their entire move that they got, THETA only really came back and tested this key level. And so that does speak to holders of this token actually seeing value in it, actually maybe even needing some. I don't really know what the use case is, but I imagine it fuels somewhat of what they're doing over there at THETA TV. So like, this has been a pretty sick buy level, as it turns out. Hasn't quite broken out yet, but it's trying to today. And Tamaya says there is an event on, what is it, December 10th? Yeah, main. Oh no, that's Loina. Where's I don't know, Tamaya. Maybe let us know again, what is that event? But there's something coming up. She said early December, and that's actually coming up like right here. So it's on this chart. That's not too far away. But you might see something up into that. Sweep the highs, go to new highs. Who knows? But it's a bullish chart. And I think you should not ignore the fact that while everything in Alttown was dumping, I mean, this is versus USD, but while they were all dumping heavily, this guy actually held up pretty well. Looks like some accumulation way up there. Versus Bitcoin, even versus Bitcoin, it didn't suffer at quite the same level. I'd probably draw from here because we had a nice consolidation low. Yeah, I mean, versus Bitcoin, I love this chart. I mean, that's not too high for me to buy. The USD one's a little up there, but we get some bullish divergence. Yep. Look at that. Making new lows. MACD already moving up. Making new lows. RSI already moving up. Breaking out of oversold. Stoke crossing bullish. God, this chart looks good. Zoom into the hourly. It's a little bit late to be buying here. If I want to really size up, I have to risk to there. I don't know. But look, let's let it break out. Let's get that pump chaser out, probably from this low. And, as high as it wants to go today, it'll come back and tag that at some point, almost certainly. So, yeah, follow it up with your fibs and, keep moving those bids up to the 382 if you are desperate to catch the December 10th rally, because I love that kind of shit. When there's something coming up and that's why it's pumping, carry that trade on this chart. That's all the way out here. Oh, like, what's it going to do between here and here? Up or down? Like, probably some kind of thing. And then on that event, I would be getting the hell out. Take yourself out for dinner. Pay yourself. Who knows what it does after that? But typically those kinds of things just sell off because of traders like me who just want to sell the news. But if you don't, someone else will.
Front run your own orders.
Yeah. Yeah. So what
I
are you
got
seeing? Aeon. All right, my baby.
It's always for Chris here. We're always charting
Chris is the man. I'm so glad he comes in because I would chart Aeon every day, but then I just, probably shouldn't. So if he requested it though.
Yeah, we're still, nothing has changed. Price came up right into the weekly resistance, got rejected. It is making higher lows for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. This is week 5. So, that's positive, but it is still just stuck in this consolidation. But again, you can see the consolidation here, it's getting tighter. So as we always say, the longer consolidation, just squeezing momentum right now. And eventually this thing's going to explode and actually give the trade that everybody's looking for. Until that happens, we still need to see price close above this 10 cents to get interesting. Other than that, I guess you'd be trying to snipe these bottom ranges down there like 5.5, 6 cents. Otherwise, I think this is, wait and see. The Stoke is, starting to move up a little bit, 3 weeks of buy volume. So there's definitely some interest within that community over there right now. What would a trade look like? Like, it's just going to be such an easy setup once it actually does break out. Like, there's just so many easy highs that need to be ran here. Like, those are going to be your first two, right? This is going to be a big level off of here, up there at 24 to 26 cents. So it's going to be very easy trading, but we need to see price get above this 10-cent range before we can, get in there. Otherwise, you're just buying resistance every single time, and it always comes back, right? But so we can. This would be max pain.
Go into the gulag.
But yeah, imagine this going on until 2022. That'd be depressing. I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, just need to see that 10-cent level clear before we can get excited on that one.
All right. The producer agrees with Kerberos about algo. I know, Johnny, I know you got a bag. Let's take a look at it. I don't have one. I scared myself out of getting one when I saw something the other day. I'll show you what I saw. Might have had my bear goggles on, but let's take a look. Algo versus USD. Yeah, so this is why I didn't buy it. And what a shakeout. Because I was looking at this that morning. It broke out and just got rejected. And I thought, oh, that was a scam. Like, that breakout was a big scam. So I'm not going to rush in. But, look left. That's my buy zone. I wasn't ready for it. I think that's why it's so important to have your thesis pre-approved, so to speak. So when the dumps happen, you're not going, oh my God, I'm wrong. Something changed. And you're actually going, num, buy it up. Because I'm still, I've already established that I'm bullish on this coin or whatever it is. And so that's actually what I'm working on AXS. If we come into here, I don't care. Like, the dump won't change my mind about being bullish. I'm prepared because I think the bottom of it. So with that in mind on algo, let's take a look zoomed out. It is in the low part of its range. So I really like that. I like buying things along the lows, generally speaking. And you can see here zoomed out even on the weekly. Oh, the monthly looks good. Not looking at the weekly. I mean, that's generally when you want to get excited about coins, when they're down here and starting to turn up. There's some nice volume coming in.
Yeah, I like the.
Yeah, I mean, this just looks good for like something I want to buy and hold for the year. If I want to trade this for the week, it's a little high up in my range for the size I might want on like a lower time frame. On the really low time frames, is it coming into places where scalpers should be looking about shorting? Yeah, somebody did here. That's why it sold off. But it's above the MAs. It's moving up. So on an investment level, yeah, sure. Low in this pattern and starting to turn up. Great, get in. On a day trade level, I would have to wait for some kind of structure, or even this morning's dip was probably a pretty sweet little moment to get in, as far as like dip and go. So yeah, algo looks really good on the high time frames, which is really what most people should be looking at when they're thinking about this stuff. Because yeah, I mean, look, first Bitcoin getting into these lows, volume coming back into the market. Look at, what happened last time it hit the lows and some volume started to pick up.
Boom.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while,
But it did.
But then it comes, right? So if this is an area where you're starting to get bullish, It's good because most people who come and buy are going to be buying, when it's up here. This is where a lot of people just go, oh, we're totally going to the moon. And markets, humble people. So yeah, if you like algo, this is a time to be excited about it. It looks like it is waking up. Look at these big buys coming in. So the nice thing is when you see these big volume bars, it's just a bit of confidence. It's like saying, okay, somebody with a ton of capital is putting a bottom in this. They're probably going to protect their levels. You want to get long with the big money. They're probably, probably not going to let it go below these levels. This is their buy zone. So I like getting along with those kinds of people. So yeah, bullish on algo. In fact, I want to go get some. Just like a little bag. Because look, here's the thing. Yeah, like get some size. I want to scalp it. I want to day trade it, and then it dumps tomorrow, and I gotta get out. I'm invalidated. But look, I go put in whatever, like a few $100 into this thing. I can just sit on it, not look at it at all. And when it gets to there, whenever that is, I'll have an order working to sell half of that position. So maybe I put in, say, I don't know, $500. And I'm going to sell half that position here. I'm going to take $500 back. Could take a month, could take 6 months, but whenever that happens, I've got a free position in algo forever. And then whatever this next cycle brings, because you might look at it here and it looks crazy, but with what Nick and I are talking about with the future of crypto, this is something where like you could be looking at something ridiculous, and you're like, oh man, good thing I got that free position down here. So planting as many of those little sell halves on doubles this year, next spring, next year, like for the next maybe even decade, like whatever. I don't know. Pick your time frame, but that's my 2 cents on that.
Looks good.
This is more like 10 cents, but
it's a dime of knowledge. But
a dime, yeah.
I got for free. You're all getting it for free. So this is the dot chart. It's an easy one to be trading right now. This is going to be bullish, ready for the bull run. If we're closing above 5.5, until then, we might have to retest this 4.8 level. It's coming back down a little bit. Bearish pivot, kind of still within this inside bar daily range right now, between 5.5 and $5. But yeah, we need to see this 4.8 level hold right now. If that goes, I'll be concerned. But for now, it's just kind of ranging here right now. We're waiting for a decision point. So can't really, there's no real trade to be had here unless you're already short from the range high bearish slowback level at that 5.5, like very clear here, right? So if we do come back down, we'll see what type of price reaction we get here. This would be your ideal OTE long entry, unless if it does shit through here, probably gonna retest this long-term trend line. I won't draw it now. But it would be actually a pretty substantial break in market structure if we were to start, closing below here, right? That'd be kind of concerning. But if it holds, we get the W shape, the higher low, etc. You'd be looking for a break above like that, and then this level here at 5.5 flipping to support, which would confirm the bullish momentum and structure, and up she would go, probably sweep these highs, right? So that's kind of.
That's the launch range, since launch. I think that looks really bullish in general, just that little tight consolidation and then breaking up and then retesting. But my God, parachains in January, still just a few months old. I mean, lots of things coming for DOT. I've got a bag. I've actually got a bag that I'm not even looking at. Like I'm ready to just write it off, pretend it's gone, because it's easier to then to hold through all of it and just kind of check back in a year kind of thing.
It's a long-term investment.
Yeah, for me. Let's look at a couple more. I know it's near the top of the hour. I do have to run as well. We've got our Friday meeting. It's blowing me away that I think like the Bitcoin rollover, I don't know if it's a Friday thing, but engagement in general today is just a total different from Wednesday. And Wednesday we had some rallies. I find it fascinating. Shout out to you guys over on Periscope. There are 3 of you watching. Sorry about that. I wasn't looking at the chat, but I do see you, and I see XRP as a request, and I'll get to it. Let's do a little rapid fire. We got WRX, GNT, HAKKA, XRP, and then we're gonna have to wrap for the day. So we got 4. I will take HAKKA because I have a bag and I might as well chart it. Might even have it charted already.
I'll take WRX.
Nope. I don't know where I've been charting HAKKA. I honestly just keep doing it on ChartX Pro, which sucks because they don't save your charts. Somebody call them. Tell them to smarten up. All right. So, yeah, is it in the low end of the range? Yup. Let's take a look at starting to wake up in general. Today, obviously, not so much. Yeah, I don't love I don't love this structure. Generally, actually short-term bearish kind of thing where you just have that sort of lower high break below the midpoint. If we close the daily below here, that's probably a signal. I mean, this is a Uniswap chart, so it's not going to be as algorithmically sound. It may not respect the levels quite the same. But yeah, probably, if I'm like dying to get a bag of this and I didn't already have one, I'm eyeing this level. Since I already have a bag, I have to make a decision here. If it breaks and closes below tonight, which it looks like it might, how much of my position am I cutting? Is it in profit? Where is it? I have to go look at a few things. Or am I just going to hold through, let it meander down into this level if it does, and then take its next leg up, which could be, based on this timeline, like throughout the month. But yeah, unfortunately, short time frame, that's not great. You don't want to see your rally with rising volume fail with a lower high and then a dump with pretty good volume. Like, not ideal.
And the difference between these coins and Bitcoin is that they don't have a grayscale to save them.
Yeah, no, that's true. HAKKA may have a little cooldown here. In fact, it looks like it will. But if you are buying it, you got to ask yourself, what was your timeline when you bought it? Don't try to play this as a short because, well, I mean, do whatever you want. It's not financial advice, but like, look at this. If I'm saying, okay, I do want HAKKA, I am going to buy it back. Here's where I'm going to buy it. Well, okay. But if you're wrong and you really want it, you're going to have to buy it back up there. That's 44% up. And if you're right and you do manage to buy it back perfectly and it hits the 786, 43%. You have 1-to-1, less than 1-to-1. This is a terrible spot to try to be a trader if you're thinking of a hold bag that you just liked it. So I wouldn't recommend trying to play what I just talked about. In fact, I won't. Now that I've charted it like that, I'm like, well, hell, if I sell here, it's because I'm getting out and I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
It's a whole new trade. But if I'm just going to try to increase my bag by selling here to buy here, the risk to reward on that is pretty terrible.
Well, I got some more terrible risk reward trades here.
Love them.
Over here at WRX on the weekly. This is just an abysmal chart. It's awful. It's currently now in like a weekly range here, but just a series of what was since March, just a series of lower highs, lower lows. No clear signs of reversal just yet, but a big support level down here on the weekly, around like 5.5 to 6 cents. This would be, if you were going to try and buy this coin, it'd have to be down there. Here is just, you're pretty much in the middle of the range, right? The resistance, your local resistance up here at 9.5, 10 cents, 9.6. If it closes above that, well, then we would have a trade set up. Price should probably move up to this 11, was that 12 cents, bearish throwback. Let's see what it would look like here on the squiggly. And, momentum on the Stoch is trying to turn up. Hasn't crossed yet. Probably, if it does continue some bullish momentum, some buying come in, probably get that next week or the week after. But what we need to see is price. So if it does close up above here, resistance turns that to support, and we could then go retest, this 12 cent range, and that's the bearish throwback. So that would be your next setup. Probably get rejected, come back down. If it turned at this level, right, into support, then it would have enough momentum to go through. So again, just kind of staircase consolidation. Markup. If we fail, right, there's two scenarios here. Just drops to zero, straight down to support from here, or it comes up and it fails to break resistance, right? And then probably have enough momentum to come back down. But yeah, this is the big level I'd be watching at 5.5 cents range, and that would be what I'm looking for there. I'm not in a rush to buy this one. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It looks like it needs more time. Can you take a look at Orchid, do a little double dip, and then we'll finish off with GNT. I'm just going to step away for 2 seconds.
Orchid, we'll pull it up. Which one was on Binance? I think I remember this one from the OTC space. Okay, I guess it just hasn't been listed for a while. So again, when you have charts with low amounts of data, you just unfortunately have to zoom in to identify some levels. And even down here at the daily, there's not a lot to look at. So let's dive even deeper to the 4-hour. At least you can see, it's a bullish market structure in the sense that we have consecutively higher lows, higher highs. This chart looks very similar, in a very similar fractal to what we saw in algo, actually. So what we're really looking for here, well, it's going to be a wide range, but again, just a chart with limited amounts of data on it, right? So you're basically looking for resistance up here at 36, 38 cents. If we're closing above that or consolidating above that, I think it'd be pretty good for confirmation of a big expansionary move off of that. And what we need to see hold here is this level here. So you can see here on the 4-hour, this is the spring of the move, correlates well with previous price action to the left off those wicks. So you can see that resistance here, right, flips to now support. So what we want to see here from the bulls, so momentum, is coming down, but again, kind of just like consolidating here. So not a lot going on, which kind of lines up with the price, right? So what we need to see here, either price is going to come back down here, and this is where you would be looking to buy. If it's bullish, this retest on this level here, you can see the volume node lines up around about 26.5 cents, right? So if you saw that double test, making the higher highs, the higher lows, that would be your confirmation that we were going to swing up here, take out these highs. These are going to be your two targets, right? So 34 and 38 cents respectively. Probability would say if it did get up here, we'd see a little pullback probably to this range here, right? Something like that, and then you would have enough momentum to go off and take out these highs. What is that? Around like 44 cents. If it's bearish, it's just going to fail here, right? And go down, retest this 25-cent, 24-cent level. But yeah, overall right now, it looks bullish in terms of market structure, but it's not necessarily a buy right here. We're kind of just consolidating in the middle of the range right now. So unless we get a retest and bullish price action down at 27 cents, I would wait, not a buyer here. Or if we do see the price come up here, flip this to support, I'd be looking for a trade out of the range, probably something like this, minimum like that, and then price discovery. So that's kind of my thoughts on that one. If Colin's not back, I guess
Orchid. I got it.
Okay, got it. Perfect.
Yes. So let's take a look at GNT. Old Golem. I still remember this from the summer of 2017 and their roadmap, and then like copper and iron and all these milestones. I had a bag. Probably. Yeah. No, it was a big one. I forget what it is now. There's like computer processing, decentralized computer power, basically. And I think I bought, I don't know. I won't even speculate. But point is, I don't have any anymore. Let's take a look. The weekly looks like a lot of those coins, right? As a rule, if you're planting seeds in markets that you are, forward thinking that the project's still active, blah, 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 planting seeds down in these areas, you've got incredible opportunity upside. But let's zoom in a little closer and see, still looks really good. I mean, we've got, lots of downside, lots of downside, lots of downside, lots of downside. But you notice what we didn't have through all this downside? We didn't really have a weekly W. I mean, I guess you could argue there was one here. Back in 2018, right, where it's kind of like low, higher low, breakout on the weekly, but it failed right after. That's your invalidation. Get the hell out. Okay, we'll try to find a bottom again. And then as we get lower in the pattern, you got to wait, right? Through all of this, you can save a lot of money because you're waiting for weekly W's. You don't see one, that's a long thing. This rally was like 9 weeks long, but was it a W? Was there market structure? No. This rally, 5 weeks of upside. FOMO, don't do it. Wait for the weekly W. And down here, that's exactly what we got. Think of all the money you might have saved, right? Waiting patiently for these real strong higher time frame market structures to come in. So you've got the low. Okay, now we've got the higher low. Bears run out of energy. Tried to break out here. Did not close above. Then capitulated. Big dirty wick, not a lot of volume. Sellers dried up, closed above, signals the breakout, little retest, and then boom. In August, this thing was part of the rally. Now it's right back at those breakout levels. This is why I prefer to trade versus HODL, because so many times when you see these rallies, multi-week even, they just come right back and take the entire thing back. And, and then everything, everyone who bought up here selling at a loss, then they just basically get their coins back, rinse, repeat. So let's take a look. What does it look like right now? Well, it's in a level. So we've got the high time frame. Zooming in on the daily. Again, kind of fell off, and now we're back into this reload zone. Buyers are starting to step back in. We're seeing it on the chart as the price spikes up. Even today, getting a nice little bid. Let's zoom in a little more. See if there's something we can work with. Yeah, low, high, higher low, lower high, higher low, lower high. So I would say that's a consolidation pattern where we could probably look something like this. So it's at resistance right now from that view. I want to draw it here. So where would I be a buyer if this was my flavor? Probably looking from that high to this low, reload zone, an area where I'm thinking about buying. If I missed it, then breaking up from here. Maybe there's a retest there. Maybe things cool off a bit and there's a buy back in that reload zone. But depending on your time frame, always the story, right? If I'm trading the 1 and 4 hour, I need to wait for these chintzy buys. If I'm looking for like a 1 or 2 year place to plant a seed, I would say you have all the parts you need. You have that weekly W, you have the volume coming in. This is a great general area to be planting seeds for this token over the next year or two. Absolutely. All right. And with that, do you have one more, or we're going to back to the studio?
I guess I could just do a closing thought, and that's basically it.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's wrap on something to do with the macro, the Bitcoin. Okay, before you go, because there was one thing that I meant to talk about today very briefly. The weekend for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, I feel like has been a fade, in the sense that, if it's like kind of a bearish, droopy sell-off Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, and then like the next week you spend the whole week watching it rally and take all that back, and vice versa. And we saw it again last week where it dumped into the Thanksgiving weekend for the US, and then throughout that entire holiday it basically bounced back, and we opened up the Monday right where basically Wall Street had closed. So keeping an eye this weekend, my thinking is if we continue to drip down on Bitcoin, making that sort of lower low, I'll be watching for divergence and expecting some kind of bounce back next week. Loosely, not blindly, but loosely, that's my thinking. And then if we pump and rally and squeeze back up on Bitcoin this weekend, I would expect some continued ranging downside next Monday. So those are my final thoughts. What are yours?
Yeah, just sticking to a chart perspective, I agree with you. Like at the end of the day, institutional guys take the weekend off, so buy demand generally drops a little. There's room for weekend shenanigans. But yeah, rising wedge, breaks down. But right now we need to see price come back up to 19.2, close above that. If we stay below there, it's bearish. And the targets are going to be these range, sweeping these range lows, 18.3, 18.2, and then the ultimate, like where's a high probability chance of bounce is like around 17.6. So it's very easy trading over the weekend. Bearish bias below 19.2. If we start closing above 19.2 and trending up, like the 4 hour, 2 hour, that'll show me bullish strength is still here. Other than that, expecting a little bit of downside, but macro, again, just zoom out.
Yeah. Well, the buy ribbon just fired. That changes everything. Coming into the stream today, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And again, that could be 4 months before we break 20K. But as far as like, oh my God, are we ever going to break 20K? Well, that buy ribbon, that hash ribbon signal is not to be ignored. It's incredibly accurate.
We'll definitely break 20K at some point. It's just a matter of how long they want to accumulate in this range under 20K.
Yep. And yeah, that's my thought too, is really, buying anything under 20K will age well someday, but you may, the question then is like, how low can you go? And how much do you want to risk missing out something to buy it cheaper and blah, blah, blah. Because, a couple of months going down before it breaks 20K, that's going to torture most people if they rush to buy here. So keeping an eye on that. Now let's take a very quick look at XRP. Somebody on Periscope reminded me that I had said yes to that, and why not? XRP is consolidating, a very strong breakout that we all probably know by now. This is like a very zoomed out chart. So this is like on the weekly. This is a huge level right here. Does not, obviously hasn't been tested yet. Does it need to be tested with XRP? I don't even think so. I don't know. Ripple Labs, they've been buying their own coin just like they were selling $4 billion worth of it during the last pumps. Now they have basically come out and said, we're going to support price. How far back will this go? I mean, this is a very lengthy consolidation. So let's take a quick look at what does the fib say? Well, the fib says we are basically in the pump chaser zone right now. So as the person pointed out on Periscope, thanks friend is his name. And this is the pump chaser zone. This is a pump. So yeah, I mean, as far as like, do I want to chase it up at these highs? No. When am I starting to get interested again? Around here. I think my spot, I had a pretty sizable spot position, and I sold, my initial target was like 42 cents, wop wop. Then I sold some here, then I sold some here, and then my stop loss triggered on this dump day. I think around this level, like 56 cents. So yeah, do I want to get back in? Maybe get a little spot XRP. I think, it's hard to say. There's just so many opportunities here. Is the multi-billion-dollar one, that's already just pumped this much, the one I want to proxy the bullishness with? I don't know. But right this minute, doesn't look great. So, but yeah, no, there's a case to be made here that this is going to, be a pennant and possibly break to the upside. So good eye on XRP. I don't think you're wrong. I think there's a lot of traders right here who are going to be taking shots. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one. Based on all the charts we just saw with all those cute, sexy W bottoms coming in, like when I was really sexy excited about XRP saying this chart looks like crack, that was down here. These are the kinds of formations I want to see. And then when they break out, I buy them. This is a different one. And as you can see, it's way up. So naturally a little bit less exciting, even though final thoughts on XRP, even though I do imagine this thing is going to go up pretty high. Let's be honest. XRP is going to get a bid. I think the last thing I'll say on it is maybe what, Finex? Yeah, like, do you think it's ever going to see these highs again? Yeah, probably. It's probably going to exceed them.
Probably.
But my trade, I had one. It was great. It was in November. It was my best trade of the month. I'm out of it. So when am I getting back in? Oh, I don't know. I have to figure that out. I don't have a setup up here. Maybe at that retest, 50 cents. We'll see.
That's some stink bids.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, right? If it's spot and you're not too worried about a quick stop loss, then yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I could see this 100% retracing, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And I didn't want to say that because I was trying to avoid the comment there, but you're absolutely right. I mean, this consolidation and breakout was just my signal, and I've played it out, made some money, and I'm moving on to other things that I've get.
Yeah, like on all the derivatives products for this, it's usually not as liquid as Bitcoin or Ethereum, and it's prone to massive wicking. So like setting those stink bids that you don't think will get filled, sometimes the XRP fills them.
Yeah, I mean, like right here. I mean, that's your breakout point. So totally unbiased view of just a chart, like that should get a test. If I'm not a fanboy and I'm literally just looking at this saying, oh, what does the chart say? Like that's the POC. I mean, here had a really nice pump, 100% retrace. So keeping an eye on XRP. I'm certainly not rushing to buy. I made good money off it. I don't want to give any of that back. But if it comes down and it's showing signs of bullish divergence and it settles into a zone and it shows a little breakout, yeah, fuck yeah, man. This thing pumps like crazy. Okay, those are my thoughts on XRP. Let's get back to the studio. We're already there. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. If you haven't already and you're still here watching, knowing that we were about to finish, thank you. I've got BTC Jack Sparrow coming on the show on Monday to hang out and talk charts. It's not going to be an interview. It's really just going to be like, let's get after it right away, just like Nick and I. It'll be great. Really pumped. Other things like sub, stuff like that. We would like to measure our level of success, how we feel about our product here, which is entirely free, by the way, based on sort of how many people subscribe. Take the time out of their day to do that. So if you haven't yet, just hit the sub button. Pretty sure it's free. And otherwise, careful this weekend, making big decisions based on weekend price action. Like I said, I think it's going to be a fade. Whatever we see this weekend as a general shift, my guess is it gets reversed pretty quickly next week. So in that sense, I guess I'm hoping for some downside this weekend because that'll mean a pump next week. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts. Yeah. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And until next time, always play from a position of strength. Take care, everybody.
Have a good weekend, guys.